Good morning, you're watching A News. I'm Dilek Tuna. Here are the headlines. Israel and the United States record their delegations from Gaza ceasefire talks for consultations. Tehran warns that talks with European three will not yield a result if the Europeans coordinate their policy with the United States. Tensions remain high in Asia as Thailand and Cambodia exchange artillery fire. The United States and Israel have recalled their delegations from Gaza ceasefire talks in Doha for consultations. US Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, accused Hamas of failing to act in good faith, saying alternative options to secure the return of Israeli hostages are being considered. Hamas, in response, expressed surprise at Witkoff's remarks, claiming its position had been welcomed by mediators and had opened the door to a comprehensive agreement. The move marks the latest setback in efforts to reach a ceasefire, free Israeli hostages, and ease the deepening humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Tens of thousands of people took to the streets in Tel Aviv on Thursday, calling for an end to the war in Gaza and the release of hostages.
Crowds filled the streets in Tel Aviv as tens of thousands of people protested on Thursday, urging the Israeli government to make a deal with Hamas to end the war in Gaza. The demonstrations come as both Israel and the United States pulled their delegations from ongoing ceasefire negotiations for further consultations. Protesters are continuing to demand the immediate return of hostages held by Hamas.
So tonight we're here because we're asking our government and Hamas end this war, bring all of the hostages back at one deal at once, bring all of the soldiers home, finish this war. We know that the negotiation is a little bit stuck somewhere, and we're asking all of the sides, please do the right thing, sit down, talk about it. Everything is solvable. Please finish the war. It's been enough. It's enough. We need this war to end. We need our lives back.
I am here to ask for the hostages to come back home. Gaza is not their place. Their place is nearby their families. This is the first thing. The second thing is to finish the war, because the hostages will not come back home until the war will be finished.
Meanwhile, several countries are urging for an end to the war to alleviate humanitarian situation in the Gaza Strip.
France will become the first G7 country to officially recognise a Palestinian state, with President Emmanuel Macron confirming the move will be announced at the United Nations General Assembly in September.
Home to Europe's largest Jewish and Muslim communities, France will become the first major Western country to recognise a Palestinian state. French President Emmanuel Macron made the announcement in a post on X, calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and massive humanitarian aid for its people. Macron will make his decision official in September at the United Nations General Assembly, with the hope of bringing peace to the region. Palestinian officials welcome Macron's decision, calling it a step towards self-determination. A letter from Macron to Palestinian Authority President confirmed the recognition and outlined a vision for demilitarized Palestine that coexists with Israel. But Israel has reacted angrily. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the move a reward for terror, referencing the Hamas-led 7th of October attacks that killed 1,200 people. He warned a Palestinian state under current conditions would threaten Israel's security. The United States has also condemned the decision. Secretary of State Marco Rubio labeled it reckless, saying it empowers Hamas and undermines prospects for peace. Elsewhere, the move has been praised. Saudi Arabia said France's recognition affirms international consensus on the Palestinian cause, and Hamas called it a positive step. As the conflict continues, aid agencies are warning of mass starvation amid ongoing restrictions on access to food and medical supplies. However, France's announcement is being seen as a diplomatic turning point, one that could reshape the West's approach to the conflict.
Tehran warned that nuclear talks with Britain, Germany and France set for Friday in Istanbul will not yield a result if the Europeans coordinate their Iran policy with the United States beforehand. Our Turaj Shiraliliu has more in Tehran.
Deputy Foreign Minister Garibabadi said in New York, the upcoming negotiations with the European powers, France, Germany and UK in Turkey, will remain inconclusive in the event that the European side keeps coordinating its policy on Tehran's nuclear program with the United States. Speaking to reporters at the UN headquarters, following his 3 days of negotiations at the world body, he said, if the European Troika demands a snapback of nuclear sanctions, Iran is determined to react. He said, we will be obliged to react. A section of Iran's response has been decided in advance. The E3 has threatened to call for fast return of UN sanctions in October if it does not reach a deal with Iran by end of August. The UN sanctions were terminated in 2015 by Resolution 2231, endorsing the JCPOA nuclear agreement reached the same year in Vienna between Iran on one side and the E3 plus China, Russia, and US on the other. Garibabadi did not rule out Tehran's quitting the Non-Proliferation Treaty in case the sanctions are reimposed, and added, Iran has not decided to stay or withdraw from NPT, but it is on the table. He also said Iran has agreed with a visit by experts of the International Atomic Energy Agency in the next 2-3 weeks to discuss the future cooperation under new conditions. Tehran has suspended its ties with the UN nuclear watchdog in reaction to the agency's failing to condemn US-Israeli attacks on Iran's nuclear sites, which are under the IAEA safeguards. The Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister added, the IAEA team will not visit any nuclear sites, especially the 3 nuclear facilities bombed by the US during the 12-day war. Turaj Shiraliliu, reporting for A News TV, Tehran.
At the close of the one-day EU-China summit, leaders held frank talks on trade tensions and pledged closer cooperation on climate. William Denslow brings more from Brussels.
Speaking at a press conference at the conclusion of this EU-China summit, Antonio Costa, the European Council President, said that it was really an opportunity during this one-day affair to have open and frank exchanges with Chinese President Xi Jinping and Premier Li. There are a number of issues that the two sides do not see eye to eye on, chiefly the issue of trade. There have been increased trade tensions over recent months between two entities that account for roughly a third of global trade. The message from the EU has been that they believe that this trade relationship has become increasingly unbalanced, even unsustainable. The EU estimates that the trade deficit has doubled in the past decade, and now the deficit when it comes to goods equates to roughly $350 billion. Also, a big area that was discussed, foreign policy. The EU says it has talked to Chinese counterparts, urging them to use their influence and their position at the UN Security Council to try and force Russia into a lasting negotiated ceasefire and peace with Ukraine. But there are certainly areas where the two do see eye to eye, and that was chiefly the issues of the environment. That was reflected in the fact that the two sides did sign a joint statement. The message from both sides: green is the colour of China-EU cooperation. They want to see the COP30 in Brazil later this year be a success. They want to ensure more things like access to green technology in the future. They've pledged to work more closely on that issue at a bilateral level, as well as using their influence on the global stage. But of course, overshadowed with these talks were the differences between the two sides, chiefly that issue of trade. was summed up by Antonio Costa, who said that this was a frank conversation, opportunity to have frank conversation. He says now, though, is incredibly important for the two sides to translate these conversations into meaningful actions going forward. William Denslow, Frey News, Brussels.
Thailand and Cambodia have continued to change heavy artillery fire as their worst fighting in over a decade stretched into a second day. Both sides blame each other for starting the conflict on Thursday at a disputed border area, which quickly escalated from small arms fire to heavy shelling. Thai authorities say 100,000 people have been evacuated from conflict zones, with military clashes reported in the two provinces. While Cambodia hasn't released casualty figures, Thailand says at least 15 people have been killed and 46 wounded. As day 3 of IDF 2025 comes to a close, the Defence Fair exhibition continues to make headlines with its major defence showcases and international cooperation deals. Al-Nuray Mustafa brings more from the Istanbul venue.
IDF 2025, the 17th International Defense Industry Fair, recognized as one of the most prestigious events in the global defense sector, has entered its third day in Istanbul, Turkey. The exhibition brings together leading companies in the defense and security industries, government decision makers, and international delegations. This year, the fair hosts representatives from more than 55 countries, over the 850 companies, and numerous government institutions. Organizers view these figures as a reflection of Turkey's growing global role in the defense industry and the rising international prestige of the IDF platform. Within the scope of IDF 2025, cutting-edge technologies such as unmanned combat systems, indigenously produced armed vehicles, smart weapon platforms, cybersecurity solutions, and AI-based surveillance systems are being showcased. In addition to product displays, a number of bilateral and multilateral meetings, strategic cooperation discussions, and industrial briefings have taken place. Turkey's major defense companies, particularly Baykar, Aselsan, and Roketsan, are presenting their latest projects at this year's event. Notably, a new agreement has also been signed between Roketsan and Turksat, marking a significant step in space and satellite technology cooperation. In an exclusive interview with A News, Roketsan General Manager Murat İkinci provided detailed insights into key projects, underlining their regional, technological, and strategic importance.
Especially in the fields of ballistic missile technologies and air defense technologies, we announced new projects. These projects are actually very important technologies in today's warfare environment, both to ensure national security and to neutralize countermeasures. Roketsan, with its products in this area, contributes both to friendly and brotherly countries and to the defense of our own country.
So what is the significance of IDEF in terms of international relations? What are Roketsan's plans and goals?
Actually, in the field of international relations, we signed many projects here. In particular, we made agreements called strategic partnerships with many countries that act together with Turkey around the world. In this context, IDEF is a platform for us, a platform where international collaborations are realized. Hopefully, with the contribution of this platform, we will continue to support developments in the global defense industry and engage in joint collaborations together.
Despite being only the third day, the exhibition was drawn substantial attention from both local and international stakeholders. A number of new documents and cooperation agreements have been signed between various countries and companies. Reporting from Istanbul, Nuray Mustafa, Zohrab Shirinov for A News.
Also at the Defence exhibition in Istanbul, Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan gave an exclusive interview to Al-Nuray Mustafa. Fidan spoke on Azerbaijan's strides in defence technology, regional cooperation and the possible opening of the Zangezur corridor.
I would like to send my warm greetings to our brothers in Azerbaijan. I also visited the Azerbaijan stand here. Due to my previous job, I was already familiar with Azerbaijan's defense industry products. But over the years, I've seen that Azerbaijan has really advanced itself. It now produces very modern and highly advanced weapons systems and defense industry systems. And there is also a very strong cooperation with the Turkish defense industry. I congratulate Azerbaijan and all our Azerbaijani brothers on their achievements, wishing them continued success.
What are your expectations if relations with Armenia improve and the Zangezur corridor is eventually opened?
As you know, President Aliyev and his counterparts are working intensively on this issue. We are also in close cooperation and consultation. Hopefully we will see progress here soon, together. Thank you very much.
Turkey is launching work on the Kars-Iğdır-Nakhchivan route and remains hopeful about the opening of the Zangezur corridor. Turkish Transport Minister says talks are underway and a direct link to the Turkic world could soon become a reality.
Of course, transport corridors are important for us. You are already carrying out construction work on the Azerbaijani side, both rail and road. We are also starting this year on the Kars-Iğdır-Nakhchivan route. The credit agreement is finalized. What remains in between? The Zangezur corridor with Nakhchivan. On that, Azerbaijan and Armenia are holding the necessary negotiations. We too are making efforts to contribute constructively to this process. I believe this issue will be resolved without too much delay and hope we will open a more direct and shorter corridor to the Turkic world.
Amid trade tensions between Kabul and Islamabad, a breakthrough appears to have been reached. Afghanistan's Ministry of Industry and Commerce has announced the signing of a preferential trade agreement with Pakistan. Our Tamim Bahis has more from Kabul.
The agreement was finalized during a two-day official visit by a high-level Afghan delegation led by Deputy Minister Ahmadullah Zahid. Under the agreement, 4 key Afghan agricultural products, grapes, apples, pomegranates and tomatoes will be exported to Pakistan under preferential tariffs. In return, Pakistan will export bananas, mangoes, potatoes and mandarins to Afghanistan under similar terms. Officials say the aim is to lower cost, streamline customs processes and support farmers and traders on both sides of the border. The ambassador of Afghanistan in Islamabad confirmed that the agreement will be valid for 1 year and can be extended by mutual consent. He also noted that more products could be included in future phases of the deal. In addition to the tariff deal, several other key outcomes were announced. The Angu-Ada border crossing is scheduled to reopen by end of August 2025. Technical talks have begun on reviving the Afghanistan-Pakistan transit trade agreement, and both countries have agreed to hold joint trade exhibitions. The two sides also discussed ways to expand Afghan coal export, promote the carpet industry, and improve logistics for Afghan goods passing through Karachi port. This visit is being seen as a significant step toward rebuilding regional trade ties and advancing Afghanistan's broader economic development agenda, despite ongoing political tensions. This is Tamim Bahis in Kabul for A News.
Uzbekistan's Energy Ministry, Azerbaijan's Sokar and Uzbek Neftgaz have signed a production sharing agreement for hydrocarbon exploration and production in the Ustyurt region. Under the deal, 3D seismic surveys will be carried out over an area of at least 1,000 square kilometres, followed by exploratory drilling of 1 well. If commercial reserves are found, the project will move into development and production. Concerns over a potential disruption of Kazakh oil exports through the Black Sea have emerged due to new Russian port regulations and Western sanctions. Kazakhstan's Energy Ministry, however, says shipments are continuing as usual. Our Fariza Kalmarzina has more.
Kazakhstan's Ministry of Energy has denied reports that Russia has halted the shipment of Kazakh oil through its Black Sea ports due to restrictions on foreign tankers. In an official statement to A News, the ministry confirmed that oil exports through Russian seaports are continuing as normal. However, officials clarified that Kaztrans, the national company overseeing oil exports, is currently addressing the situation at the port of Ust-Luga, where additional security measures are being introduced to protect critical transport infrastructure. Earlier, Reuters reported that foreign oil tankers had been temporarily barred from loading at key Russian Black Sea ports under new regulatory rules. The report suggested that this could effectively block Kazakh oil exports, which largely rely on a consortium involving Western energy firms. According to Reuters, the restrictions also affecting Russian oil shipments from the port of Novorossiysk could lead to a drop in global oil supply by more than 2%. These developments come amid the European Union's latest round of sanctions against Russia. Earlier this week, President Vladimir Putin signed a law requiring foreign vessels to obtain clearance from Russia's Federal Security Service before entering the country's ports. The law was signed just days after the European Union adopted its 18th package of sanctions targeting tankers carrying Russian oil and lowering the oil price cap from $60 to $47.60 per barrel. So far, neither the Caspian Pipeline Consortium nor Russia's Minister of Transport has commented on the reported suspension. Meanwhile, Kazakhstan exports more than 80% of its oil via the CPC pipeline, which terminates at the Russian port of Yuzhnaya Ozerovka. In recent years, oil flows through this route have been interrupted multiple times. In response, Kazakh authorities have emphasized the need to diversify export routes, identifying the Trans-Caspian corridor as a key alternative. Still, despite geopolitical challenges, the Caspian pipeline remains the country's primary oil export channel. Fariza Kalimurzina, A News, Almaty, Kazakhstan.
That's the world news for the hour. Stay tuned to A News for more updates.